All right, so we are here with Peter, live. Hi, Peter.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
Yeah.
Even I am really excited about your work. We were seeing
Yeah.
it online, and this is our first chance, together with all the audience of the people who are watching us right now, to understand who are you, what are you doing, what is this that you passionate so much about.
Yeah. So I run Built for Mars, which is a UX kind of agency consultancy, but it's just me. For a bunch of reasons, it's just me. I like doing stuff on my own, but yeah, I just help people build like better products. So I spend most of my time working privately with like companies like Google, Notion, GoFundMe on like cool projects. And then I spend some of my time putting up free case studies that I think you guys have seen. People seem to love it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tell us something that recently you did. Of course, we're seeing all your work, and it has a lot of details. How do you approach when you're starting to research, your research?
Well, you mean my process of making the case studies? Mm-hmm. Well, it's probably as boring as you imagine, right? I go through it loads of times. I make notes, and then I spend a long time looking at every page, right? And thinking. There's not some magic formula. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of thought. And I have quite a good, over the years that I've done it, I've built up quite a good like sixth sense for like where onboarding is going to go wrong, or like where people make mistakes. So when I see like a certain page, I can normally guess like, I bet they haven't done this as well. And then half the time they haven't, half the time they have. Yeah. But the process is pretty manual, right?
Firstly, when I saw, your company, first thing what I, basically shows in my mind is the name. I really like the name. Just a simple thing, because I like brands. I'm always thinking about brand and brand marketing. And I just saw the brand, Built on Mars, and I like it. So
cool.
How you become with the idea? Like, it's still a different, like.
So, do you want the long story or the short story?
All
right, I'll give you the short one.
The long one.
Right.
So basically what happened is I was working privately as like a consultant. By mistake, I just kind of, after I sold my startup, I started doing that just to help people, right? Like help friends of friends and stuff. Anyway, I was doing it for like a year, and then I started off working with like some household names. And I was like, this is crazy, because on every invoice, I'm just putting like my name. And I'm like, I need to have like a company for like tax reasons, right? And all that sort of stuff. So I was like, right, do I call it just like Peter Ramsey Limited, right? It seems a bit boring. And so I registered 2 domains. I actually had Built for Mars and Home on Mars. And the idea behind the name was, people build products that work in context of like an office, but people should build products that work in the context of like any environment, i.e. Mars. To be honest, it was a name that I thought like no one will ever see. And it was a name for like the invoice that I thought was quite interesting. And then I started posting content on it. And now I guess it's like a brand, but I never consciously made a like brand decision. Does that make sense?
See.
You have to open like all these accounts, because Ivo and I were really testing, and Ivo, you can show him. We're testing all these banks and neobanks all over the world, and also excited about the user interface on the app, but also the design, the concept, the number of clicks that people are comparing, all kinds of statistics on the onboarding process. So how do you come out to all these apps? Do you open bank accounts in all of these?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's super manual. So I said to someone the other day that I'm like a software stuntman, who like does all the dirty work. Like I'm doing a study at the moment, well, I'm doing a few things at the moment, but like one of them that I really want to do that I'm midway through doing is like being an Uber driver, like the experience of being an Uber. I'm a registered Uber driver, right?
Nice.
And so I've actually signed up. I'm actually giving people lifts, right? I don't do it for a job. I've done one lift, and I did it so I could see what the experience was like. So it's like I don't fake the stuff. I don't find the screenshots somewhere else. I just open in a bank, and as I've seen you have, because you've got like 1 million cards in your hand.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Especially like the KYC process. Currently, I'm most interested, especially about the KYC, and more thinking about every step, because speaking a lot of designers and they are explaining the screens. So firstly, I didn't care about the screens and the buttons and small things. So every new KYC process, when I'm basically trying to go through, I'm taking more attention about these elements, and especially about the recognition, like the KYC, the basically the automated process with the identification. It's also very interesting, I think.
Yeah, so that I always do my own ID, so my own face, my own passport, right? It's,
sure. Sometimes I kind of concerned about like the security or like the privacy. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes like they are based in India. Like you don't know the regulation in India. Like in Europe, I'm kind of secure, or I'm thinking it's kind of regulated and it's under European law, but right.
Yeah, I mean, so I've opened for some client work because people sometimes commission me to do studies. So I've got bank accounts in like Brazil, Indonesia, Germany.
Okay.
Bank accounts I normally trust, right? But I have a general rule, which is by the time anything gets published, I've already been through every screenshot, and you may have seen blurred out literally every screenshot. So when I did the bank study in the UK that I published, I had 5,000 screenshots. I had to go through and Photoshop every single one and blur out every single. Actually, I didn't even blur it out because that would have been easy and it would look bad. I Photoshopped the letter, the number 0 over every number.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, to look really like.
Yeah, but people would know that I had a nationwide account, right? So before I published anything, my accounts were all deleted. So I never publish stuff for live accounts I have. So by the time I publish the next case study, I'll have already signed up and then removed myself. So hopefully it's all right.
You also cover open banking processes, all these screens for open banking when you connect your stuff to the Revolut or
they're all photoshopped. So I do it and then I'll Photoshop all my numbers. And so you'll see it's my name. I really did do it. And then the account number will be 00 or 11 or 55 or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
It takes ages, but it's otherwise, I'd be.
Yeah. Right. Because, there are many agencies that do research for this, competitive analysis for all the banks, and you see these charts, and every time they post on LinkedIn, and you have all the logos and stuff and the infographics and stuff. But there's something different about the way that you do it, that it's more like your art, like you're writing about the process. It's more like personal, like somebody dedicated time, at least from my view, and actually led you through the user journey, right?
Yeah, well, that's cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't make money out of Built for Mars. Like people pay me separately to work on their own stuff, but it's a free blog. I don't have ads, so it's like, and I never plan on putting ads or making money or making it a paid newsletter. Like I do it because I love it, and so I hope that comes across. And I think, especially in banking, I've seen because the bank study I did ended up with, I think at the moment it's on like 6 million views. So it's like probably the biggest banking study. I've never seen a bigger one. There might be one, but it's like I've seen a lot of people basically imitating it on LinkedIn. And I think the bit they're free to do it, and I'm sure they're doing it, well and stuff. But it's like the bit they miss is it's the fact that bank study took me 6 months. Like I went into so much detail And then I stripped back from the detail to like a few sentences that made sense. Whereas it's not like, I didn't just go, look, it took twice as long to sign up to this bank. I was like, it took twice as much long, and these are all the reasons why. And so it's like, I think consultancies especially think they can just, you know, spend 20 minutes writing a blog post, put it up, and then they'll get loads of hits. And it's like, I couldn't do that. It took me ages, right? Like if they spent 6 months on it, I'm sure it'd be great, but people appreciate the time and effort that went into those projects.
That's a good point. I think it's very interesting. Yeah, very important. True.
It's like, have you seen the YouTuber Mr. Beast?
Yeah. Well, with you?
No, I haven't done anything with it. Mr. Beast, he like buys like $1 million worth of lottery tickets and stuff.
Oh, okay.
He like does crazy stuff and gets like crazy views and stuff. It's like, that appeals to people because he takes it to like the next level. Like it'd be easy for me to review the Uber app. It'd be hard for me to be an Uber driver and then review what it's like to be an Uber driver.
Sure.
So that's the difference. That's what I try and like bring to it. But
yes,
it's nice to hear you like it, because I don't hear that very often.
That's maybe your observation about maybe the differences between the neobanks, the banks that you covered, between, let's say you mentioned Brazil, for example, and you know the UK ones. What are the differences, the similarities? What are the segments? You know, some of these banks are focusing on SMEs. Some of them are on freelancers, you know, like Lily Bank in the US. They're just targeting freelancers, right? Coconut, right? In the UK.
Yeah.
What are you saying, like in that space?
Yeah. So there are banks for everything, right? Like I've done a lot of work with unreleased banks. So banks that are either launching later this year or next year, and same story for most of them. They're like, we raised this money silently, we're going out and doing this market, and you know, they won't all work, but what I'm seeing, especially just like anecdotally, is like banks for niches. So I don't want to name any particular, it's got NDAs, but like say there's a bank for people who are selling shoes, right? And they're like, this bank is for shoe sellers, and it's got all these features that shoe sellers love.
Right.
So I think, you know, the challenger banks in the UK, they do an awesome job. You know, I think Starling's the best bank that there is, like that I've used around the world. And I'm not affiliated with them anyway. That's just my opinion. Revolut and Monzo are very, very close behind. Like they're almost as good. But those three banks, you could put those three banks in any country and they'll be the best banks in that country. You know, in my opinion. But then what you see in these other countries are like very niche banks that do very specific things.
I'm doing a lot of research in that area for these kind of types of banks, and I'm seeing the same thing. Like a lot of them are, you know, so focused on one, you know, particular, you know, area, or you know, customers, you know, niche customers, or there are a lot of fintechs. I'm calling like copycat of you know, top 5 fintechs in UK. So something between like Revolut, you know, Starling, Monzo, Monies, and these types of. So sometimes for me, it's very hard to see some difference. You know, I was asking, what's the advantage, you know, to create an account?
Well, this is the thing, right? So I think Starling, Monzo, and Revolut are great banks. Do I think they will all survive? Like, probably not. I wouldn't want to say which ones I think will or won't, but like, you know, there just isn't the room for these banks to all make money. Like they're all losing money. And so, you know, these niche banks, if they can find a way to, like if you were a shoe seller, right, you might pay for a bank account that had a very specific set of like features that you used really intimately. And so it's possible that the banking infrastructure, like, I don't know, this is just a guess, but you know, in 5-10 years, like these banks are more distributed than ever. And they're just kind of like, you know, small businesses would have a very specific small business bank for their niche. Possibly, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And small businesses, you know, you mentioned small businesses, like there seems to be a lot of these banks for the small business community, let's say, you know,
especially for freelancers, you know, because I have a lot of friends as like freelancers, and I'm kind of also doing freelance. And I know sometimes it's hard. So I think it's also a good, idea to create something very focused to freelancers and accounting. Because, for example, myself, I hate accounting.
Everyone does.
So it's great to
Yeah.
true, obviously, yeah, right. So it's great to be, to have connection to the, to some external connection to, let's say, to the program, and we will send it to the finance. It's really great.
Tested the
So.
business accounts, let's say on Revolut.
Was that to me?
Yeah.
I haven't done nearly as much research into like the business banks. So I wouldn't know, but I assume the business banks are, decent if their retail bank is also decent. I'm like you, Ivor. I hate accounting. I've picked a business bank that I think offers me a set of features that mean I don't have to do certain things like accounting, right? So, and that's and I would probably pay for that, right? Like I would probably pay
sure
for a month to not have to do accounting. Like I do, I have an accountant, right? So, but like that, if I spend that much money on my accountant, I could pay that to my bank. So,
right. I think that's the future, to have everything connected, even with the real estate market for mortgages, everything will be connected, one click, few clicks. Also, the investments, the P2P lending, all these banks, okay, they will still exist, huge banks, but the interface will be probably up to you. If I want to communicate via chatbot, I will connect all my accounts, I guess. I will choose the best combination of all of these types. That's what I'm hearing very often also from experts from open finance. That's the future.
The only thing that one of the I don't know if you guys have like an opinion on this, but I'm pretty worried for, the industry of fintech. If there are so many options out there, I think they will all struggle to make enough money. Yeah, there are certain running costs to like run a bank that I think you need to scale, and like I don't know how like these people that sign up to these small banks, what happens when they disappear? Like,
I think the issue is competition, like, because even with traditional bank here in Central Europe, I've experienced, I don't know in the UK, but they are usually for free. They will open you account, they a lot of them, they are kind of, developing a lot of new features, and you can also have Apple Pay and virtual cards. So I think it will be hard to compete, with all these players. And I think especially in the UK, in Europe, I'm seeing it's kind of over, too many players, I think.
Yeah, I mean, between Starling, Revolut, and Monzo, and you could throw more in there as well. There are banks that I don't mention that probably I should, right? You could throw other names in there, right? But between them, they all have a very similar feature set now. They all do it pretty much like really well.
Right.
How can these banks be 5 times better? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that's why we're seeing banks that specialize in particular niches is like, if Starling released a feature set for one specific niche, they would either confuse everyone else or they would have to have different features for different users. And it's like, it gets too messy.
Yeah. And in the US, we see a lot of cashback. And of course, we're seeing a lot of rewards. All these banks are coming with a reward program.
Yeah, credit cards. Yeah, very popular. I was also, kind of thinking, what about like the let's say UX UI process? Like when I'm some new, let's say neobank, and I will ask you about I want totally new design. I think it's not be so hard to be different or differentiate in like UX, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
How to be different, let's say that basically. If I will.
So I don't design. I'm bad at drawing and designing stuff. What I do is I audit, like you've seen, right? Like I will look at something and I will be able to tell you why you should change some stuff and maybe suggest things. But so So I don't design UI for these banks. What I do is like, they will show me their designs and I'll tell them how to fix it. And the truth is that, you know, design, and I've talked about this in a case study on Coinbase a while ago. You know, people, designers think they should make something that's really unique, and they aim for this, like, because, you know, every SaaS product copies the page layout of Stripe, right? It's like, go on Stripe. What have they done? Let's copy Stripe. They're amazing, you know. But actually, being unique isn't that important. Being familiar is quite comfortable. People like stuff that feels familiar. You know, like behind you, I can see, you know, that green screen you have, right? Like headline, subtitle, image. Like how often do you see that? But it's because it's familiar. So when I look at it, I can just read it. I don't have to work out what's going on.
It's exactly the sentence I said to the designer. By the way, his name is Alex Benega, and he's the designer of the Do Not Pay app. The Do Not Pay app from the States. He designed that app that actually saves you money, right? And are you familiar with that app?
No.
So basically, it's like a robot advisor, like with AI. Go through your Gmails, cancel the subscriptions, and, you know, instead of saving you all these hidden fees and actually finding you this hidden money from parking tickets to, I don't know, Netflix or other subscriptions that you forgot to cancel. Yeah,
cool.
That's very popular right now in the US, and I think they just got an investment.
Nice. And that's what you said to him. You want something familiar.
Yeah, we started, you know, doing the summit, and that's what's good about him. You know, he's American and he gets it. You know, he just immediately start working and designing, and it doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. You know,
and that's the thing, right? And any UX designer or consultant that tells you otherwise is lying, right? You know, developers Google stuff and then they go on GitHub and see what other people have talked about. Like designers do the same thing. We go on nice websites and we get inspiration. We get inspiration, right? But that's what the world does. And there's a reason for that. And it's not just laziness. It's actually because stuff that feels familiar is comfortable, and that in itself creates some good UX. So, you know, back to your question, like of these neobanks, like they all end up looking very similar, and that's fine. And for a good neobank to come, they just have to do the form well. They don't have to reinvent a form, right? Like they're asking the same information. They're doing a KYC check. Just make sure the form works really well. Don't worry too much about it looking different to Monzo or Revolut, you know.
But still, what are the, like, you know, biggest flaws, let's say, in user experience you seeing in this segment? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's if I had to summarize, like, so I mostly I think I mostly pick up on context, right? That's always my big thing. It's like, what is the context of the thing the person is trying to do? You know, someone who goes on the Nike website, they want to buy some shoes. Nobody goes browsing because they're interested in shoes. Like people just go, they're like, I want to buy a pair of shoes. They go on the website. If you go on Domino's website, you want to buy pizza. You're not going on because you're browsing pizzas, right? So it's like Fintech is someone who lands on, you know, the sign up page of a bank account. They have a really clear goal. They want to sign up to the bank account. The thing that gets in the way with most Fintech is the context that everyone inside Fintech, well, not everyone, but lots of people inside Fintech understand Fintech. And even the word Fintech means nothing to most people. Like, we all have to accept that, right? Like, everybody at this summit is the top 5% of the people who understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, you know, you talk about overdrafts and cash back and reward schemes, you know, people are switching off. That consumers don't all know what, you know, what their credit rating is. Like, that's just not something people understand. So the context around terminology and why it affects their life. And, you know, if you say to someone, you know, we're about to do a KYC check, this might impact your credit score. I know it doesn't, but whatever, you know, for someone in Fintech, they would go, that makes sense to me. if I read that, I would go, I understand what's going on. But you stop someone in the street and say, this is going to fit your credit score. They might be like, why do I care about my credit score? And you have to explain to them, like, there's another step there. There's a step of context that's missed.
In like human language, right? In like,
Just
average consumer, let's say.
the real world. It's just,
real world.
Yeah.
I think we are kind of live in a bubble. A lot of people I know, and even myself sometimes, and then I will realize, it's not that thing, or it's totally different, also true in fintech. So
yeah, you speak to these. I bet if you stopped, did you see the SpaceX launch with Crew Dragon? That'll bring that a few months ago. You stop the people that worked on that and you get them to explain something to you, I guarantee I won't get it. And to them, I'm an idiot and I don't understand the context. And to me, I'm going, why are you telling me about fuel? And to them, it's like, well, like the two of us need someone to come together and go, he's asking this question. And that's what websites really should do. Like software should take fintech, in this instance, explain all the stuff that people don't understand and put it in a language that anybody could understand, even me, right?
Right. I feel that. Actually, my friend, he's building a rocket engine for some, project. Yeah.
Casual.
Yeah, normal. Normal people.
Normal rockets.
Yeah. So a lot of people are just, watching us here are from traditional banks, neobanks. Some of them are all kinds of service providers in the fintech space. Some in payments, open banking, and I'm sure that they were looking for this talk to see you, and basically try to get some hint for their product. Do you get approached by other financial services or just banks? Is it like, who are the people who are approaching you?
Yeah, I mean, I work with all sorts of companies. It tends to be big tech, and it tends to be in the US. But I'm starting. I mean, I've got projects from now booked till March, and utility companies, energy companies, fintech, like a lot. It's a lot of fintech. It's probably 80% fintech, and then 20% some other thing. But I'm specialized in fintech because I love fintech, not because I can only do it in fintech. Like the context issue that I explained about the rockets is still the same. Like if I ever got the job, designing the like touchpad on the Crew Dragon, the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I would be able to do that, even though I don't know anything about what they're talking about, pretty much because I would be able to point out the things that don't make sense. So, but it's mostly fintech.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I think it's important to choose, something you like, personally, and of course you're able to do, in the same field, different things, but you will really choose what you have drive in that topic and field. And I think people can feel that also from the post and a blog. People
want to go to an expert. They want to go to somebody who's specialized in one thing, not everything.
Yeah.
I think, at least from this conversation, I'm totally getting what is the value of working with you? What are you providing them? Why are they coming to you, and what can you do, and what also you can't do for them?
Yeah. Well, I can't do way more than I can do. Yeah. I mean, I can do very little, but fintech. So someone said to me the other day. This was well after I started, so it's not like this is like some origin story, but they said to me, what's interesting about software is people spend so much of their lives now on software. My eyes spend more time looking at a screen and I'm hunched over on this chair than I'd look at the real world, right? And so what I do in a very small way is I help people make better software, and in turn, better software would mean people had like a better quality of life, right? If all the software was better, people would enjoy their day more, ideally. Now, I'm not responsible for people enjoying their day, because the people building the software they're doing a hard job. But it's like, what I love about fintech is finance is an area that people like struggle with, and it immediately impacts their life. You know, saving, right? Like having a pension, like mortgages, like this is stuff that people, if you stop them on the street and were like, hey, how are you getting on with money? Their relationship with money is probably like a talking point and something that they may be really stressed about. So if you can build or be involved in and help build a bank that makes people less anxious about money, like you can affect a lot of people in a really positive way. So fintech's a really good scope, good area to have great UX. You can win a lot of customers by convincing them that you're more trustworthy with their money, which I think is what helped, you know, the rocket launch of Monzo, Revolut, Starling, these like neobanks, was people were like, these guys seem really trustworthy.
I think you kind of summarized that. I like this. One of the, you know, like most important, you know, topic, you know, what you said. Yeah, I think.
Did you get any, maybe, you know, two quick questions. Did you get any offers to join a bank, start a bank?
Like inside, you know, be like
taking all
inside
your
person.
experience and focus in building something up, something new?
Yeah, I do get job offers. But like, you know, I think, I'm sure you guys would get job offers, right? If you put yourself out there. The thing about these banks is they're desperate for people who understand how product works. And people who understand how product works typically don't want to go and work for legacy banks. So, you know, I'm not getting job offers from Starling, Revolut, and Monzo. They're from the legacy banks that are like, we don't know how we would build this stuff. You know, these challenger banks, and not just in the UK, the ones abroad, they know their stuff. Like they would get me in to look at a specific flow or do a once over, but they don't need me every day. Like they're doing fine, trust me. You know, these banks have got it sorted. I wouldn't come in and magically make Monzo twice as good.
But let's not forget there are other players out there. We mentioned a lot of the Monzo,
yeah.
Revolut. I want people to remember we're talking about FinTech Nations. That's the name of our summit, and we are covering fintechs all over the world. We just had, you know, a call today with app banking, and it was great. You know, we talked to them. How do they manage the community with the open API? How do they come up with new ideas? You know, it's like IoT of banking. Like somebody invents every time he gets an income, I don't know, something happens in his garden.
Yeah. Well, you know, the international market is interesting. I'm helping build a bank in Spain. I say helping build, that's probably quite, I'm helping them with their UX, right? So their design. And it's like, you know, markets like Spain, you know, they have challenger banks, but they're not matured in the same way as the UK are. As an industry, not as a product, not as people, as an industry. So it's like there's a lot more scope for building a bank. And you know, the bank that you just mentioned in Australia, was it App Bank?
Yep.
They might be better than these banks in the UK. It's just that I haven't used them yet, right? So like, I'm obviously biased to the ones I've used. But if these UK banks went to Australia, they might find that the context of the customer changes, and so they're not as good, right? You know, there's a bunch of problems there. But
it will be interesting to watch, because I think a lot of them are considering to, you know, move to another markets. And for example, Revolut, you know, they are on Australian market. They joined very, you know, recently. Though they will need to compete with, you know, local players, right? So it will be interesting to really see like what's really like you know, the value of both, what the customer will choose, you know, like the player from the UK or the local, you know, some the neobank.
Because I don't know, because I remember, so I first signed up to Monzo when it was called Mondo, and back then, you know, they had amazing customer support. You could boot up the app, and within like 20 seconds you're speaking to someone. When I did as part of my study, I did a lot on customer service, and in general, the traditional banks were probably faster than these challenger banks. you know, they've grown so quickly. So my concern with Revolut would just be like, how are you going to maintain that kind of like scope and scale your customer service in that way? Like for a small bank with 1,000 customers, it's quite easy. And then when you get 10,000 customers, it's still quite easy. And then when you hit 100,000, you're getting more difficult, right? And when you're Revolut, just growing so fast, how do you even hire enough people to train them to be good enough to handle that?
Exactly. This question I'm always asking when I'm seeing, you know, the hiring page, and there are like, you know, 50 or 100, you know, positions open.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's tough. It wouldn't surprise me if, you know, I don't want to throw shade on any particular bank. It wouldn't surprise me if any of these banks, you know, not just in the UK, right? If any one of these challenger banks goes global and like takes over, it wouldn't surprise me if in 5 years they are a legacy bank and they're just so big. And it's like, you know, you're the new legacy bank, right? Because you're just
basically you will overcome, and will be the traditional, revolution.
Definitely. I mean, now would be a really good time. If I could take myself out of what I do and run a company straight away, it would be like a small to medium-sized bank in a niche in a country that's underdeveloped, like, you know, some Indonesian banking business kind of.
But you've got so many experience, you know, you can create some fintech. Have you ever think about that? Like, you know,
Well, I like, I wouldn't, but I like, because I like what I do now. But
he's building the bank on Mars.
yeah, that's what I could do, maybe. Yeah, I'm just waiting for that .mars domain ending. Like a bank.
Mars. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we found somebody that we share so much with. You know, with same passion. We are all three of us. That's what we do. You know, I'm all the beta programs, testing every feature. Excited about that. Excited about a product. And each one of us has a different approach of doing it. But your service really inspired us for a long time, and this is the first time we're seeing the person behind the Mars project. And we were very curious to see. I mean, what is your story? How did you come up with it? So maybe before we wrap up, tell us about the background, the person you were before that project. What did you do before? Something more personal about that.
Sure. So I had a horribly cliched Silicon Valley style story. I was in my last year of university. I dropped out 6 months before the end to start a business called Movem. That business started off in property. We pivoted into a fintech company, and the fintech company was like before open banking was a thing. We did open banking for like tenancies, basically. Anyway, so that was acquired in 2018, and then throughout that process, I basically just had like, have you ever seen the TV series Silicon Valley? Yeah, like name all the things that happen in that, and they happened to me in some like less dramatic format. Okay. So it wasn't like $1 billion offer. It was like, do you know what I mean? So everything was scaled back, but it was the same like heartbreak, like highs, lows, you know, nearly running out of money, having to, you know, all that sort of stuff. So when I came out of that, I mean, I love being a founder. That's, you know, I always knew I'd never work for anyone else. So you know, when I came out of the company, I was like, what now? Right. I don't know if you've spoken to or had any exits or, you know, but it sounds glamorous, but it's pretty tough. Like you come out and you're like, I've got free time. What do I do? Right. In my head, I was like, I'm going to retire and just play golf. I hate golf. You know, and all my friends aren't retired. So I was like, I've got to do something. And so I basically spent 3 months, probably 3 months playing Xbox. If I'm honest, 3 months playing Xbox. And then I was like, I'm just going to help some friends with their products, and then friends of friends. And then that's how I got into this. So supernatural, like way to fall into it. But
What really surprises me, like, you didn't create any like agency or UX agency, because usually I have some friends, they were doing design or development, whatever, and they were basically doing the freelance, and it was they were getting more and more and more clients, and then they realized they're just not able to do all of them, and they started hiring people, and from the freelance, your personal brand, you integrate a company, and it's agency, and you're in a company, and you need to manage people. So
that's I've always said I'm not going to run an agency. So I tried getting a few people involved, and it just didn't work. I knew straight away it wasn't going to work, and it didn't. The problem for me is, so the natural growth path of someone getting into any consulting or any agency work is, you kind of wing your first client, then you get another client local, and you build your way up. I found, within a few months of just helping friends of friends, because I had a network of like founders, I was already working on the kind of projects that people would dream of working on, right? So my time is like fully booked pretty much until like March, right? So I've already at full capacity, and I'm already working with the best companies that I want to work with. So for me, it's like, if I hired a second person and took on more work, all of the clients that I work with would have like my time diluted down to someone else's. I haven't got control over how good they are. They might be better than me, they might be worse than me, but then I've got the hassle of running a company, running payroll, and I'm spending more of my time doing stuff that I don't enjoy. And it's like, instead, I just am happy, working on my own, and it works out more cost effective for the company. I get to keep a bigger chunk of the money. Like, I don't have to deal with when people are on sick, what happens about covering shift work. There's a bunch of reasons why running an agency just doesn't appeal to me at all, basically.
Great.
It might appeal to some people, right? So.
I see. Yeah, I respect, like, I think you must be very strong to really like say no to some clients, a lot of clients. I think you need to basically say no, right?
I say no to more. So if I had an agency, I would have built about 10 banks this year.
Wow.
We have people here who are watching you from these all kinds of fintech nations, and that's it. You heard him. I think you're doing a great job. I'm actually curious about the future of your business and the future of the product that you're going to deliver, and helping all these fintechs around the world. And me, myself, I like to be inspired by people. And I can say, Ivo, right? We both were inspired by you, and we wanted to connect. We feel like a good connection. And, we got to know about each other because of this excuse, which is this initiative. I posted something on LinkedIn, and I saw Ivo is doing the same thing in his own, world. And we connected because of that passion, because of that inspiration that we both deliver to our communities and our following. And I think you're also in this space, and I would love to do stuff with you. I would love to, work on excuse, on a project, because a project is an excuse to get to know people. And that's how we do. By the way, all our team are amazing people here on the FinTech Summit. All of them are doing amazing things. And we have like this excuse, which is the summit. But after the summit, we're going to continue and working on other projects. We developed so many relationships, especially, this is my advice, maybe, during COVID. That's how we met you. We met all people are at home. The best speakers, if we wouldn't make this summit as a physical summit, in the old world before COVID, it was so hard to get these speakers. We get the best CEOs here, the best founders, the best companies are on that platform right now. So I think working from home and doing all this remotely allowed us to, making these wonderful connections all over the world. And we would love to do something, just create something together.
Let's do it. Just let me know when.
Yeah. So now we're committed. Wonderful. We're on video. We're live. We're booking him after March. After March.
All right. Let me make a note. Write it down. Okay.
Yes. So thank you very much. And let's catch up soon, right?
Sweet. Cheers. See ya.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.